Good morning or good afternoon. So last time we talked about how what the farm problem was. So this just general idea that if all farmers had good years, that would suppress prices by more than what the increase in total product was that was being produced, and so total revenues could go down. And what it really was doing was outline rationale for why there should be government support for farmers in general. There's this positive externality associated for all of us with having a steady food supply and inexpensive food products. So now we have to look at what happens when there is outside influence into a market or when there's government intervention. So our basic level of analysis would be a tax or a subsidy. Tax is a payment made by consumer or producer that's directly part of the market. Now, subsidy might be a word that seems to be a little bit more complicated, but it's really not. Instead of a payment made by a consumer or producer, it is a payment received by a consumer or producer. And another way to think about it, as I'll show you here in a bit, is that a subsidy is kind of like a negative tax. You know, we think about paying taxes when we buy something or when we use something, but it would be like just putting a negative sign on that. So the subsidy that you receive, for example, there's electric cars and alternate fuel vehicles oftentimes have subsidies. Those are just direct payments to lower the cost of use to the consumer. So thinking about a subsidy like a negative tax, I think goes a long way. Okay, so one tax that is pretty common, you see that it is oftentimes suggested or put into practice in larger metropolitan areas, is a soda tax. So let's say that our soda tax is equal to $1 per 12 pack. That's what the tax is. And note that I've left it, said, hey, it's just $1 per 12 pack. We haven't put it on consumers, and we haven't put it on producers. And politically, maybe there's a reason why someone wants to talk about a tax being placed on someone, but the truth is that this dollar tax on the soda market is going to affect both consumer and producer exactly the same way, no matter if we put it on the consumer or if we put it on the producer, and I'll show you. So let's say that our initial market is given by P equals 10 minus 0.001 QD. This demand curve follows the law of demand, and we'll say the supply curve is P equals 1 plus 0.002 QS. So my supply curve follows the law of supply. The size that I choose here really is just giving me the size of the market, and we can solve this and figure out what our equilibrium price and quantity are. So if we set them equal to each other, 1 plus 0.002 Q, and subtract 1 and add 0.1, I get 9 equals 0.003 Q. And if I divide both sides by 0.003, 9 divided by 3 is 3, divided by 0.3 is 30, divided by 0.03 is 300, 0.0003 is 3,000. So my quantity of soda 12 packs is 3,000, and my price, if I put this back into either quantity demanded or quantity supplied, my price is $7. Okay, they're expensive 12 packs. Get over it. Okay, so graphically, $7, 3,000 units. We have a market that is functioning as we would expect. The supply curve is more steeply sloped than the demand curve. That's why the price $7 is closer to this 10 than it is to 1. But the market clears. There's no real issue, nothing going on here to talk about. So I'll leave that there to remind us of what the price is. And now let's think about what happens if we place a dollar tax on consumers. And let's think about this demand curve and how that demand curve would be affected by a $1 tax. So I like to start off with the maximum willingness to pay and think about how the tax changes the maximum willingness to pay, and then that should give us some insight into how the tax affects the entire demand curve. Somebody in this market was willing to pay $10 for a single 12-pack of soda, but now a tax is levied on them. Levied is just a $2 word for placed. A dollar tax is placed on them, which means they, the consumer, have to pay the tax. When a tax is placed on someone, it means they're the one that's writing out the check to the federal government or the state government or local government, and they're responsible for doing so. So it's kind of a trick question. Does the tax change the consumer's willingness to pay? Does the tax change the consumer's willingness to pay? The answer is surprisingly, I think, no, it doesn't. $10 is the most someone is willing to pay, and the nuance to the question is they don't care where the $10 is going, it's leaving their pocket. So when we say, does it change the consumer's willingness to pay? The answer is no. Does it change the demand curve? The answer is yes. Now, the consumer is only willing to pay $9 in the market or $9 to the producer because they have to pay $1 to the government. So what that looks like over here is, try new marker. Demand decreases by $1 no matter what quantity we're talking about. The first 12-pack isn't worth $9 anymore. And how much are people willing to pay for 3,000? It's going to be $6 because they've got to pay $1 to the federal government. So all that happens, that becomes a 9. So now if I solve this, equals 1 plus 0.002, I get 8 equals 0.003 Q, and Q is equal to 8 divided by 0.003, and I think we're going to get 2,667. Sure enough, 2,667. And my price, if I put that back into supply or demand, is 2,667 my price equals $6.33. Okay, so we have something to talk about. So this is after before my quantity was 3,000, and my price was $7. After the quantity has gone down, I think we can collectively say that that has a negative connotation. There's less of something in a market, but the price has gone down. So you're thinking, well, this is kind of a good thing. And in some ways, it is a good thing. The dollar tax isn't just placed on the market. Hey, you're paying $7 and now you have to pay an additional $8, because what would happen then is the market doesn't clear. Market forces are still in play. Hey, now I've got to pay $1. I like soda less by exactly $1, no matter what the quantity is. And the impact of that market change is that the price goes down to $6.33. However, the consumer hasn't paid the tax yet. After the consumer pays $7.33. I pay $6.33 at the market, I pay $1 to the government, overall $7.33 has left my pocket. So the consumer pays 33 cents. And I'm just going to leave that up there because I have to reduce the rest. Change this back to 10. We're going to get rid of this. So here's my no tax outcome. My price is $7. My quantity is 3,000. Here's my outcome when we place the tax on the consumer. The price is $6.33, and the quantity is $26.67, and the consumer pays 33 cents. Now we're going to say that the tax is placed on the producer. And this might be even more obvious to understand how this changes supply or demand. So first of all, we're going to place the tax on the supplier. Does that change demand? No. There are lots of taxes that are placed on producers that we don't know about as consumers. So if they change, they wouldn't change our demand. They would change the market, as we're going to see in a bit. Would that change this supply curve? Well, it doesn't change the way that soda is produced, but it does change the supply curve. The minimum supply price previously had been $1. It's now $2. It's just like you can think about, we said one of the determinants of supply was the cost of productive resources. Well, in this case, a productive resources, you got to pay the government. That's the $1, okay? So this changes to $2. So we can now solve this. 10 minus 0.001Q is equal to 2 plus 0.002Qs. Subtract 2 from both sides. 8 is equal to 0.003Q. Divide both sides by 0.003. My quantity is equal to 2,667. But what's the price? Well, if I put 2667 back in for Q, 10 minus 2.666 repeating, my price is $7.33. So if you're the producer, the 733 is kind of good news, except for the fact that, oh, wait, there's more. Minus the $1 that I have to pay to the government, the producer receives $6.33. Look at how much the producer received before, $6.33. It's exactly the same. So my price is $7.33. My quantity is $26.67. But my outcomes of who pays for what portion of the tax are exactly the same because the market mechanism is still at work. Think of it this way. I have 5 brothers and sisters. There's 6 of us total, 4 sisters. So if anybody needs a spare 2 or 3 aunts, maybe even 4, all but one of them are older than me, you can have them. Usually around, September, one of them starts talking about what we're going to give our parents who are in their 80s, who have everything they need, what we're going to give them for Christmas. And usually it's more expensive than what we should give them, and something that they don't want, because if they did want a new refrigerator, like we purchased them last year, they would have bought it themselves. And my oldest sister she'll say how much you owe. The refrigerator was $1,200, you owe $200. And the reason why she always does it is because she wants the rewards points. She takes the $200 from me probably after she's purchased it. So she goes and she buys the refrigerator for $1,200, but she's really paid $200 just like the rest of us, because once we all give her our $200, that leaves her only $200 short of paying for the refrigerator. In that case, that would be like the tax being placed on her. Implicitly, the rest of us are all paying for the gift. So if the tax is placed on the consumer, the producer implicitly pays part of the tax because the price has gone down. When the tax is placed on the producer, the consumer implicitly pays part of the tax because the price has gone up. What determines the split between the two is how inelastic or elastic demand and supply are, and that's what we're going to talk about in future chapters. So we'll leave that out of today's analysis. But to review, the tax, when it's placed on the consumer, just lowers willingness to pay by the amount of the tax. It decreases demand. When the tax is placed on on the producer, it's like the cost of a productive resource has increased, and that's going to decrease supply. Okay, I'll see you this afternoon, and we will have some work to do in individual groups. We'll see you then.